We know what body fat looks like on the outside and how hard work, attitude, diet can change the way our body fat appears. Under the microscope, we see it full of adipocytes. Body fat is fat-filled cells. And as we gain weight, these adipocytes are going to expand. As we lose weight, they're going to shrink, but they never go away. The living part of adipose is cytoplasm, and sometimes you see a little nucleus in there to control activity. Taking a look at this, you can see not much activity. We're storing energy for famine. We're also insulating organs, and in this case, insulating this blood vessel, so when we move, it doesn't tear. The endothelium, that's the inner lining. People that smoke may not realize, but gradually they're irritating this endothelium and setting themselves up for heart attack. Not a good activity. To really understand adipose, though, we sketch it. Because in science and medicine, we document everything. In the court of law, if it's not documented, then an attorney can say it never happened. You might say, well, we have these beautiful images on the internet, but part of what we do as scientists, we're going to document. Like if there's a tumor, if we miss that, a child may die. So we get in the habit, straight lines. So these lines don't look like maybe the adipose lines. Everything's printed, we have some white space, it's titled, and there's a name there. We're ready to move on, because we're going to measure body fat. We don't want to measure muscle, so you sort of wiggle your fingers back and forth until you have just skin and fat. And you're going to measure this distance in centimeters. Right? Most rulers have centimeters on one side. Now, there's a specific way we want to do that. We work with a patient because we can't measure our scapula area very well. We get consent. Verbal will work, but I like written consent. Because in movies, we see people touching each other, hitting each other. But that could be considered battery, and you could lose your license. So in medicine, we get consent, and as we work, we watch for guarding. If they look nervous, then we might pause and give them a break. We're going to measure the tricep, subscapular, lower back. Moving on to the abdomen. Now, we don't want to make people nervous and confrontational, so we're going to go to the side for the belly fat. The same with on the thigh. We come at from the side, not facing them, but at the side. Finally, the calf, which sometimes doesn't give us much data, because the muscles, we're not measuring muscle, we're measuring fat. Okay, there's a formula which I want you to take a look at here. Female and male, pretty similar, except the multiplier 0.95 on a female, 0.9. So we're going to add all the sum of our body fat measurements. Second thing, multiply by the given 0.9. Last thing is a 0.8, 4.8. Right. To do this, we just run it through. So I added these all up. My partner measured my body fat, and I came up with 19.1. So I took that on my calculator. Second thing I did was there's the given 0.9. So I'm multiplying times 0.9. And then I'm going to add that other given, which is 4.8. There is my overall. So I have an overall fat percent now. And I also have a distribution. So this activity gives me two forms of data. Where do I put my fat? And what's my overall? And I might wonder, well, what does that look like? I'm at 21.99. So I'm in between these two guys. Now, if you know you're, say you're 25% and you get something like 40%, what that means is your practitioner probably was grabbing some muscle. That's a common error. So as you do your pinching, sometimes you have to reposition your hands several times. Wiggle it, hold it sideways until, and you could tell, you get a feeling for the difference between fat and muscle. All right, so let's not get disturbed if those numbers don't make sense on the first run. All right. Once I have that, I do want to add a narrative because we always chart our patient's data. Name, date of birth. Because if there's not a name and date of birth in the hospital, we have to shred that data. It's worthless. All our efforts wasted. Okay, I'm just mentioning where my adipose is, and I have specific goals. I don't want to say, oh, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to say I'm waking up 20 minutes early and 19%. Specific goals are often most successful. In the end, I have an attractive report with my drawing up top, very professional looking, my chart down below with my information there and my narrative, and done.